Oh my gosh, what are we doing? Technology, send this, send anyways. Let me get here. All right, good. All right, come on, let me see here with Dr. Francine. Jesus Christ. All right, cool. And this, and copy, and this, back to Francine again. All right. I'm sorry for the little problem we're experiencing, but we should be fine. Let me get them back up here. We had a little problem, but we should be okay now. Let's see. Oh my. Okay, so we got this. All right, so he's doing that. We got this here. It's unique. Let me see what we have here. All right, good. Okay, so we got this. All right. Vector Francine. Yeah, bear with us a little bit. All right, we got this. And then we go. All right, so we got this here. It's unique. Let's see what we have. All right, good. Did we figure? She probably going. Let's see where Emmerich. Let me see. I think we should go the other route. So we got it set up that way. Emmerich. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, yeah.
Here we are. I can't hear you. For some reason, I can't hear you, Duke.
That's why I'm muted.
Okay, awesome. Now I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry.
Can you hear me, Emmerich?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm used to muting myself for the to stop the background disturbances.
All right.
Okay, awesome. That's good. Yeah. Okay. Are we good now?
Good. We're good. So we'll just
Okay.
share it. Let me get Rosalind and here so they can go ahead and share. There. Yes, but we're good to go.
Yeah. So we were having a discussion today about what happened in Liberia. We had a major event where a candidate, the Vice President Barker, was interviewed today. And he said a few things that we, as supporters of Mr. Cummings and member of the ANC, would just like to share our views and our thoughts on what he said. And so we want to say thank you so much to all of you that are out there listening to us. We want to tell Duke and the Russian of all Russian, thank you. Of course, we play around a little bit here. And I also want you to have Emmerich here with us as well. You know, he's the block proof. You can try hard, you can't beat his intellect. We're gonna just have fun and you know just tell you what the reality is. We're talking about some of the things that Mr. Cummings spoke about in the past. For the first time, if you remember in the 2017 debate, he mentioned about raising the budget. Okay. And of course, we know that Ellen did it. She raised the budget from 80 million to 672 million in 2017. And she had a lot of help. She was very thoughtful in doing that. And Mr. Cummings went in there and he talked about increasing the budget to $1 million. And people were like, whoa, how can we do that? They didn't see the potential in Liberia. And now here we are, we have JNB actually on our interview today agreeing with Mr. Cummings. And he also, you hear from Emmerich, he also, took some of what Mr. Cummings, what he has been saying for many, many years now. And it was just kind of fascinating for us on the other side who have been speaking about this to hear this coming out of, the vice president. So I'll start with Emmerich. Emmerich, you want to just kind of share your thoughts? I know we had this conversation before and then we got disconnected off live. And we'll be coming to you.
Emmerich's ready.
Yes.
Right. I just give you a clear example of a conjoint twin. Now we've seen that the VP, the former VP, is agreeing with Mr. Cummings, even though he says he's going to learn on the job or he's new to the job and so forth. Someone who preferred all of those different suggestions and so recommendations and got in-depth knowledge about how to increase the budget. Now we are hearing for the first time in our history that the budget can be increased to $1 billion. And we never thought that even tourism was a major thing in our country, even though we have this rich background history, but we have never ever thought about it. But I think with Mr. Cummings, he actually looking into that, to tap into that, to see how we can increase our budget. Now you found out in no time today, tourism is included in the former VP's agenda right now, but we did not hear anything in details as to how it's going to be done, how those things going to be done. We just hear, we see the acronyms of those things, but really, the details as to how those things going to be done, we don't know. And I think it's like being on a train that is driven by someone who is blind. Sorry, it's just a description I'm giving to mean that all of these things that are going to be connected to our revenue base, we have to be careful as to how we say those things. When you talk about increasing the revenue, you have to be careful as to how to talk about it, not to say to incite or make people excited, not to make people excited, to think that, because you've been there for 12 years, so what you say people will have to believe it. It's easy. Since you have all of these plans that are being copied from Mr. Cummings, just agree and raise his hands and support him. Just support him. There's nothing wrong with supporting Mr. Cummings. Being the president right now, it's not an entitlement thing. We are at a crossroad where we need someone who understands the enormity of our issue, who's been tested before. People are saying, oh no, the private sector is different from the government structure, public area, and so. If you have dealt with human resources, human capital, and so, you have done, in fact, but far larger than our country, you can do it. It's easy to do. So I'll turn it back to you, and then we can go on with this smooth discussion.
Yes, and I actually want to just hear your thoughts, Duke, on the interview today.
Yeah, so I'm sorry about the low buzz in the back. Let me shut it out to cut the distraction out. But Dr. Francine, I was waiting for you all to, have your say and then come in. Great point by Emmerich. Great point from you as well. When I saw that interview today, I was not shocked. It met my expectation in terms of, what I knew was coming. I try to tell people this. You have to remember, just 2017, I was one of those people on the UP USA propaganda strategy team, media crafting talking points, right? To go. One of the problems that we had, and Hassan Fadiga and all of them, Fadiga had a show at that time. One of the problems that we had was to get the VP on social media to talk to people. That was something very hard for him. He's just not comfortable with doing it. And whenever he comes to talk, he leaves behind what we call sound bites, right? So that interview was marked by a lot of sound bites today. But it reminded me of, right? And I will use it's not a friendly tone, but you know, we have to say these things. It's like the guy in the community who's noted for being, who's the notorious thief. And then suddenly the next day he comes and says, you know what, if you pay me $20, I'm going to be the security here to guard your house, right? You know that this man is noted for doing certain things, but he now presents himself to be something else. What I heard today, well, it sounded like a campaign or a candidate that came in because his people wanted him to be something that he's really not. And I'll tell you why. 42 years of public service, 42 years of working in the space of government as the former VP of the Republic of Liberia. There's no way you can identify or play chameleon to be like Alexander Cummings, because unlike Cummings, you have a history, right? Unlike Cummings, you have worked in that arena. You have been given the chance to be a public servant. What did you do? And we'll go into that. Now, the $1 billion mark.
Yes.
And I know for a fact, yes, in 2017,
yes,
a lot of people from the other side were critiquing Mr. Cummings because they say it's too overambitious, it's not going to happen. Suddenly, the vice president now sides with that and believes that it can happen. That speaks towards the leadership of Mr. Cummings. He takes the initiative. He's bored about saying stuff, and other people becomes comfortable when he goes ahead and put himself. See, same thing with a war crime score today. That was another question that came up. Nobody wanted to publicly say certain things about war crimes court. Cummings came in, he committed himself to it, and he was bold in that Sunday remark, I believe, about economic and war crimes court. The same thing, the same power. Exactly, right? That's the problem here. And this is the area of opportunity for us in the ANC. These people, and I'm not trying to be condescending in any way. You cannot come and tell the Liberian people after 43 plus years that you're some kind of overnight messiah. You cannot come and tell the Liberian people that you're somehow better than Cummings in creating jobs and creating economic, freedom in Liberia, right? So there were too much about just the PR political talk than actually showing us exact processes, right, that they have to be able to create jobs, right? Okay, you say $1 billion. What is different than what Mr. Cummings already stated? So we didn't get any of this stuff. We just got the usual political talk. And I think people were trying to be like Alexander Cummings, but it was an epic fail. And I will leave that to the audience to judge as well.
Absolutely. So I want to go step by step because I think you guys know me well enough to know that I like to do play by play. I like the facts. Okay, so nobody can believe that we're making things up. I spent my time this morning taking notes of the interview. I will admit that I didn't listen to the entire interview because I think I stopped like almost 20 or 30 minutes when they were about to take phone calls because I had to do something else. So he started off talking about that he had the requisite for leadership, okay? And he believes that he was a leader in the previous government, in the Unity Party government, and that he thinks that he can now lead Liberia, okay? I will tell you my thoughts about that before we even go on into the second aspect of it. So, I wrote today, to be a leader, you have to learn, first of all, to say the buck stops with me, all right? During the interview, he talked about, people in the United States came and joined Ellen's government, and they were using the government to pay their mortgages. He talked about how, the CDC people will not get anything good. He went in from the trip here, all right? He talked about how he brought in fire trucks. And also he brought in BMWs. Okay, this is the level that we're on right now. Okay, he brought in BMWs, and these BMWs were people took them for the private use. This is the level that we're on right now. This is the leadership level that we are on for Liberia right now. So all of those things were very concerning to me. But then he went on to talk about how he worked at LPMC. All right. Then later on, he blamed Doe for the disaster, the failure of LPMC, another blame shifting that happened over there. Okay. And then he said it changed into LACRA. All right. But I've been really, you know me, guys, I've been kind of searching LPMC all over the internet, and I will find something, even if I have to go to the Library of Congress.
Politics and Warlords. Politics and Warlords talks about the LPMC thing, the duel, the Green Revolution. It talks about that book. I have a copy. I've had it for a couple of years now, probably 5, 6, or 7 years. That particular incident is actually in that book. So,
beautiful. Beautiful. But my question about this is like, so here it is. He was at LPMC, then he went to LPRC, I believe, and then he went to Ministry of Agriculture. You know, what do we have to show for all of those movements and time in government? What leadership skills do we have to show, guys? Help me out here.
I think
Dr. Francis, well, Emmer, go ahead.
I think the only thing we gather from all of his experiences, just on the same blame game. That's one thing and when you're a leader, when you start to blame and never take responsibility, maybe that's why there's a reoccurrence of incompetency on his part. And I'm not saying it to be mean. Maybe that's the reason why we can't see anything tangible. Maybe that's the reason. Because if you went on the first job, right, and then there's a problem over there, and you shift it on to someone else, what have you learned? Your weaknesses. How are you going to strengthen your weaknesses when you have not even recognized that you have weaknesses? It's almost impossible in life for anyone to say you're going to live your full potential to the fullest, and you don't have weaknesses. We all learn along the way. How do we grow? How do we grow? We have to recognize those things that went wrong in our career to see how we can improve going forward. But that's not the case with the former vice president. And one of the things I saw I listened to today in that interview, the same thing, corruption in Liberia. Now it's the diaspora community, but that's not a factual statement. You cannot make a blanket statement like that to think that because someone transitioned to Liberia to work and people made money, they have salaries and so. One thing there is like you have a system that will stop corruption, because if even you don't employ anyone from the diaspora community, corruption will still exist in Liberia. Corruption still exists in Liberia. Tyler, okay? The whole Tyler crew, Tyler from the speaker, all right? He got no mortgage in America. Yeah, Big Boy 1, Big Boy 2.
Under his watch, by the way.
Yeah. So if you look at it, you see what's happening is a divisive comment again. You're looking at a divisive comment to say, oh, these are the people that will corrupt the diaspora community. That's not a true statement. And I'll leave it as that. We got more to talk about.
Yeah, hold that thought because I want to be able for us to tie that into, this whole issue of corruption, which we'll come to. But then tell us, LPMC, LPRC, Minister of Agriculture, what do we have to show? What do we have to show in Liberia?
Rule number one, when we were on propaganda, we're doing media for the Unity Party in 2017. You always want to stay away from owning the failures, and you want to focus on things that sell you as a success story. Correct. That's a strategy they will use, right? So what you see happen is that he will never own his errors, but they will come up with these kind of bogus numbers and make people think that this was successful. Like I heard somebody defending the Unity Party on Spoon Talk today, and they said that, well, people always want to blame us for where we left them, but they did not know where we took things from. But hey, hello, I spoke on behalf of that party in 2017. And I will tell you this, I still have writings here and things that we actually compile. I would say this, the Unity Party got a lot of help from the international community during, their tenure, right?
Yes, the geopolitics
Right.
of the world and Ellen being the darling of the West. Those two things we cannot negate.
Exactly, right? So I heard them talking about, oh, this was our amended and that was our amended and stuff. Again, not taking ownership. But back to the VP, right? Mr. Boycott needs to learn that one aspect of leadership, you have to take accountability, right? Of things also when they're not right. The problem here with him is that he shifts the blame too much. You spend 12 years as Vice President of the Republic of Liberia, the second highest office in the land. You traveled on official government trips. You received stipends. You knew that there were errors, there were failures within the Unity Party, there was corruption going on. You never spoke up, right? But today you want to claim that you were not associated with it. But listen, the Vice President is dishonest. Yes, why? I want you to go back to a lot of the snippets from the interview today. First, he says that on the issue of surgery, I don't know where the story is coming from. I never had surgery. A couple of seconds later on in that particular conversation, then he admits that he saw the doctor because of pressure, and then it led into something else. Now, I'm not getting into somebody's personal health because all of us have issues and people have things. But what I'm getting into, though, is that we have to start looking at people in the detail. If you notice the Unity Party, the main selling point of Joseph Boycott, Mr. Boycott, is this, that he's this elder. He's this honest person with wisdom. He has not stolen anything. He lives within his means. But then we have to start questioning. If you're honest, what are you hiding? How do you tell us that you're living on loans, right? And people in America live on loans here and they're doing that? No, that's not the case, because out of the percentage of Liberia, the 5 million people in that country, you were in the top 1% of people earning income-wise in the country, meaning that you made more money in annual income than the average Liberian in that country. At this point, to be dependent on banking assistance, financial loans as the former vice president, that tells you that you're not a good money manager. Then it leads me to the $1 billion mark. How can we entrust somebody who is very, very weak in his own personal finance, depends on bank lending process to stay afloat? How can we trust this person to be able to meet the $1 billion mark? That's like telling somebody who does not have $50 in the account, right? Or somebody who does not have $50 in the account telling me that they can make me a millionaire. Well, why is it you are not a millionaire, right? So these are the things that we're talking about. And the LPNC, the LPRC, look, mediocrity all around. 42 years, all of this time in government, we judge you based upon your history. You own your record. What are those things that you can point to that has made Liberia a better economy because you serve in those capacity? Okay, in that particular capacity. Go ahead, Dr. Francine. I know you wanted to say something.
Yes. Yeah. I wanted to then now put this against the backdrop of Mr. Cummins. Okay, the man who we know can take Liberia, can give Liberia a facelift from where we are now to a country that is deserving. Okay, so now here we are talking about in the span, what is 40 years, 12 years that the vice president stayed in Liberia's government. Okay, we're talking about a man who actually started his career at Pillsbury. Okay, Pillsbury company. And during those days, as you know, there weren't even people that looked like us sometimes that were in middle management positions. All right, we're talking about a man who was able to stay in that company and help put systems together to help market the product, the baking product. Okay, then he transitioned and went to a bigger company, an international company. He had tangible issues there. He had things, tangible policies, tangible activities, events in that company, to the extent that he lasted for about 16 or more years in that company. All right. And one of the things that, I respect, and I can see when Mr. Cummings makes the analogy of moving the economic from, our revenue from where it is with the budget to where it is to $1 billion, I actually can see how. You know, we're talking about a man who had a vision to say, Coca-Cola, I need you guys to expand in Africa. Okay. And one of the things that he did was encourage Coca-Cola to utilize the population in Africa, even though Coca-Cola was already there. But he actually helped advocate for Coca-Cola to go in Africa. You know, desalination, the water that we drink, the bottling company, he was very instrumental in terms of negotiating for South Africa, the company in South Africa, okay, to be a part of Coca-Cola. He knew water. People in Africa enjoy drinking water. He knew that. All right. So he was like, you know what? If we can just expand into this company, we can just expand Coca-Cola in Africa. All right. I think Coca-Cola will see an increase in their revenue. He was responsible for human resources. And you know, guys, if you work in any system, you know how difficult it is to bring a diversity of people together, studying the culture, signing all the paperwork, memorizing and respecting the different laws. So here we have a man who is actually doing something tangible that we can see how his skills will be transferable to Liberia. On the other hand, we have someone who's just giving us all these vague things. They're asking specifically, and I'll let you guys go. What did you accomplish in the 12 years? He said, and I'll tell you, he said, well, I solved ELW land issues. This is where we are now. This is the level we are. Okay. Land issues. Okay.
What a shame.
When we go back to Liberia, you myself will go solve some people will call Palawa Hot. Let some people come and solve some issues. We're talking about Palawa Hot issue versus systemic issues here now. He didn't say I developed a system to stop corruption. Okay. He said I solved EU mission conflict. I resolved conflict within the Justice Ministry.
Yeah.
Hey? Okay.
Dr. Francine, right? Let me say this. Let me take this lead and Emmerich something there, because there's something I don't want to lose my train of thought, but it's very important. And the reason why, yes, what I want to tell to my ANC partisan. The reason why I really enjoyed this conversation, or going, because it puts me back into that situation in 2017, and I almost can predict what's happening, right? But let me say this, right? One of the things that I was never comfortable with is talking about those accomplishments that were listed. I felt that it was mediocrity. I was never going to use those talking points. I felt that it just didn't make sense to tell people like you saw a tribal stuff in the rural counties between Madingo. It was just so much. That was a filler that was used, right, for people to just have some kind of talking point, right? So I was never comfortable. But I want to say this. You said something, and I love to talk about the $1 billion mark in Mr. Cummings' history, right? I'm comfortable. Every Liberian, go on Audible or go on Amazon, and I want you to get this book called The Africa's Business Revolution.
I'm writing it down. It
highlights the Dan Gote, the Alexander Cummings, Coca-Cola, the processes that they use, the challenges they face in running effective businesses across Africa. When people are talking about corporate structure, right?
Absolutely.
Another book I want them to pay attention to is Rwanda Inc.
Yes,
this book lists Paul Kagame as the CEO. That Kagame is running a corporate-like environment in Rwanda, right?
What we need.
Successful entrepreneurs and businesses find creative ways and run their organizations, right, to be able to navigate the African territory. Now, back to my practical response. When we're talking about building the economy, when we're talking about attaining that $1 billion mark, it is doable because people who have the practical skills and have been through tough markets can see opportunities in adversities. One of the interview Mr. Cummings did sometimes in 2018, he said that the action about how was he successful, or how was Coca-Cola successful, and how did he become a very effective exec. And what he said was, they had to tailor the business in a way wherein every village, every town across a specific country on the continent had to earn be it $1 off the sale of that product. That's huge. Yeah. That means that Coca-Cola profits had the success story of Coca-Cola had to be tied to the average consumers. Brilliant. In Liberia, we have to find a way where our economy works for the bottom Liberians. The private sector is key because we need to start focusing on the small business environment. This is one of the most important gains economically we can make in our country by strengthening small businesses and giving Liberian-owned businesses the opportunities to thrive. How do you do that? You do that with the wisdom of Alexander Cummings, because he has navigated those kind of territories and he understands those markets. So when we talk about the $1 billion mark, you're looking at the leakages. Definitely you have to be ambitious. People who are not ambitious do not see the possibilities in adversities. And that's an issue with Liberia. We need to inspire our people to think big and to follow it through hard work. So you find those leakages, you look at those CPP holes, the corruption areas, then you start tapping. Look, outside of natural resources, there are so many ways for us to make additional money. America as a case study, and I'll use this for a reason, right? Now we're talking about renewable energy in America. We were so heavily dependent on gas and stuff and what have you. America found another way to generate a revenue, right? And to be able to employ millions and create millions and hundreds of thousands of jobs in regions that could have never even dreamed about having jobs in renewable energy. So these are the kind of things that we're talking about, being ambitious, looking outside of the scope of what we're used to, and trying to find creative ways to be able to get those particular marks and those things accomplished as well. So, Emery, you can follow in on there.
Yes. Emery, I have a comment too, but Emery, go ahead.
Right. I would just like to add on when you just spoke about when you were outlining Mr. Cummings' experience. One of the things, in Pittsburgh, where he worked,
yes,
as the vice president for finance, and it wasn't just within America. We're talking about international businesses for the whole of Pittsburgh. So you see the level of just from early on, very, very young, at a very young age.
yes.
Right, I think he was probably like 36.
He is 30s, yes.
36. So you're talking about someone who, at that very young age in America at that time, during those days, where you would even see a Black American, I'm serious about it, occupying a position like that. So it simply means there's something about him that other people see in him. And that's the reason why he's so useful, that we ourselves, our own country, some people don't see in him because they play this whole politics and act like they don't know what's going on. What's going on is the decision they make. And that's the reason why our country is retrogressing. That's the decision today that is really, really, taking our country back. If you listen to the former VP, now the whole conversation was reduced to travel something. I went to the village and the land dispute there, the Manigo and the article. It's just something that is important, really, really national issues we are talking about, how to make the lives of the whole country better, to have policies and so that will trickle down to everyone, to create employment, to create a better or conducive or work, or condition for the entire country, the private sector and so. What have you done, LPMC? And so at that time, trust me, LPMC were fully supported, okay? But when the question was asked, the blame game started again. What took LPMC down? The blame game again, it wasn't my fault and so. And we see constantly. So there's a big difference. You cannot dispute the difference. The difference is clear. It's like light and day. Okay?
Yes.
You see someone who's been, what system do you have in Liberia? I'm not trying to put us down, but what do we have in Liberia that is workable, that has worked for everybody? To always say you have to go through the ranks and file to learn everything. If it was working, then you wouldn't need anyone different. Then you would just rely on the system, but there's no system. So we need someone who understands how to create a system. We need a pragmatist. We need someone like Mr. Cummings who can see something broken and then build it based on his experience. It happened before in Nigeria. When he went to Nigeria to work for Coca-Cola, how competitive Nigeria is. To look at someone like Mr. Cummings, he must have had something great to offer. And that's the reason why after his assignment in Nigeria, he went and achieved a higher height, right? He excelled from over there. And we see constantly everywhere he went, success followed him because he researches, he studies, and then he's the last to speak. He takes responsibility. I've seen him taking responsibility so many times when we're in meetings. When we're in meetings and bad judgment and things fall through the crack, Mr. Cummings will say, I'm the leader. I apologize. I take responsibility. It's my fault. We will revisit it. We will sit and see how we can make this thing better. That's profound. And that's the reason why, you see, I even have greater respect for Mr. Cummings, because he never shied away from taking responsibility. He never shied away from saying he's wrong. Some of us, for me, I was upset when we got with, in CPP. But Mr. Cummings said it's the best, because he studied it. He took his time. He said it's the best thing to do for Liberia, for Liberians, to remain in the CPP. We all got mad. We got angry. Or thinking I didn't want to be bothered with his name and so. But today I'm seeing that, yeah, that decision was the right decision. And I will just pass it on to you.
Yes, and I know, just to kind of hop on what you're saying about that decision, you know, he will tell you that when you have a country with so many different small groups like ours, we don't have like major political parties. And one of the ways that he has studied, you know, that we can come together and have a winning solution with a candidate is by us kind of joining, collaborating with these different groups. But, you know, Duke, and both of you guys said something that was really profound to me. You know, again, we want to give people who Mr. Cummings is and who we have that is supposedly going to be the standard bearer for the Unity Party, okay? So, you know, we're talking about somebody who has something tangible to show. You know, Emmerich, you sort of talked about his life, his persona, about being in a company in Pillsbury and leaving Pillsbury and going to Coca-Cola. And there was something about him being 36 years old, perhaps his knowledge, his ability to his innovation, to think things, to be able to, his leadership skills, all of those things that was mentioned today in the interview. And Duke, you also mentioned, for goodness sake, you know, why other African countries were, you know, studying things? We're talking about since LPRC time, we're talking about since LPMC time, and then went on in the 80s during those times. Countries were studying how to do things better, okay? Like here, in the 80s, when I was in Liberia, we were making sugar, the blue little cubes, okay? What happened? Besides the war, I don't want people to say, to blame it. No, how did Joe Buckeye contribute? He was in charge of agriculture. Are we producing anything in our country? Were there any systems? Did he discuss any of those things for us today to say, yes, you know, I was Minister of Agriculture. I contributed to producing the system. I heard a man talk about bringing a machine from Madagascar, or actually there was a strike or some problem. I couldn't understand what he was saying. I don't know if you guys got that, where he said he told the people to produce oil temporarily until they figure out. He went to Madagascar and I think brought the machine. Did you? Am I right? Did I hear that?
You said to Malaysia. You went to Malaysia.
Oh, Malaysia. I'm sorry, Malaysia. So I'm like, you know,
that was the accomplishment.
Yes. Okay. So yes, join me, Duke, because we going through. We'll come back tomorrow.
No, listen. Let me say this. Let me say this. Right. We need to continue this. There's a lot of things to work with. There's so much information that we need to spend multiple days uncovering. And I really love that we're doing that. You know, you said something. You said that, you know, we used to make sugar in the 1980s, right? And then Mr. Boyka was, you know, with LPMC, and, you know, he says that he's strong on the agriculture end. But why is it, if this man is such an agriculture guru, none of the things that he claims to have touched survived, right, up to present? Because if you really had a structure in place, I don't care what happened, you will still leave people with something to work with. I'll share this with you. You know, a lot of you may not know who Roger Ferguson is, but he was one of President Obama's advisor, but he was the former exec of TIA Cref. Roger faced a situation wherein TIA was an old pension company. A lot of the systems were outdated from the 70s for a long time, right? He had to figure a way to be able to modify things. Roger survived up to this point using the old processes because somebody created it before him. But he went through that particular study period. When he had the opportunity, his goal was to transform it into something modern and leave the company to where it is that somebody else will take there for him to build upon. So he didn't scratch that particular process down. He improved on the systems, modified it, and left it behind for somebody else. Back to Joseph Boykin, there's a reason why I set that specific example. When you are somebody who knows what you're doing, when you say that you're this so-called guru, agriculture is your thing, that you can create jobs so you can build roads. 42 years should give the Liberian people a clue of what you're capable of doing. What can we pinpoint? What can we show exactly as those success stories that gives us the confidence to be able to fix the issues that we're dealing with today? By the way, the reason why we have the CPP today is because our leaders and even Liberians became fed up with corruption, no jobs in the country. Things were regressing, a regressive economy. So the collaboration came together because we wanted to be able to give the Liberian people an opportunity to experience something that's different than the current government. Now, pray tell me though, if we are looking not only to replace, but to offer Liberians a hope, who is better suited to start tackling these issues? I would name them. Education, poor education sector. How long have we been struggling? And it's even worse now with that. Guess who is tied to that? 42 years includes poor education. JFK, the healthcare, right? Who is better suited to be able to give our people a chance? 42 years is tied to the regression into our healthcare sector. Unemployment, 64% of young people in that country that make up the voting population are the most marginalized group in the Republic of Liberia. Again, 42 years is tainted with wasteful lack of production that have actually impacted that particular area. So when we are talking about leadership, when we're talking about who can beat George Weah, we need to be reminded it's not about defeating George Weah. It is about defeating all of those ills of society that we're facing today, that we're tired with leaders who have come and failed us, and giving somebody the chance who can think outside of the box and introduce something new to change the country. So those are things I highlighted. I just want to put a spin on it, but we can move on to the next, Dr. Frank Saint.
Yeah, I just want to add on, right?
Go ahead.
The agenda of the CPP, if the agenda of the CPP to just remove President Weah, and I think it's an agenda that is wrong, that is short-sighted, because we should be the alternative to bring about good governance now and going forward. So it's not only about, and then, we want somebody who can beat, or we want two people that can beat, but the same people from UP, right? This is what's happening. Oh, but we would prefer Mr. Cummings to be second. But then, what instrument are you using? What's determining that? You're just saying it because you think you want to put a team that can beat President Weah. That's not the agenda we are talking about. Liberians, the young people, the women, the children, they have suffered for so long. So when you talk about you being the alternative, like Duke rightly said, you want to put in leadership that going to stop the exploitation, the manipulation, the corruption, all of those things. And even going forward, a leadership that will set the tone and create a system that will, you put controls in, that going forward, we're going to learn from it and say, okay, we recalibrated, we set the tone to move forward with good governance. That's what we know the CPP should be about, not just to replace, and that notion we want to put a team to just replace, or to me, it's ill-advised. It's not good. It's ill-advised. So another thing, but then when you look at what's happening in our country, going forward, what leadership do we want? What leadership have we understood to be good? Nobody can answer the leadership style of for the former VP. No one can ever tell you. No one can ever give you things that he did, tangible things. What did he do at LPMC? All policies is so that he can still bring and say, okay, these are the documents that I have doing my days in at LPMC or at agriculture ministry. These are the policies, these are the blueprints, and so Okay, these are the things that we can use to be able to
We input the
revive.
machines, Emric, you forgot that.
Yes.
What?
You know, and this is what I'm sorry, go ahead to you're gonna say something.
We got a first call here. Peter Quay, he's been trying to log in,
Okay, yes, let's
but
speed up.
he wants to make a quick contribution, and
Yes.
so I have him on the phone. He has been having issues logging on, but
Okay.
Peter, Dr. Francine, we're listening. You're live. You can go ahead and drop some knowledge here for us.
Yeah, so I apologize. I was trying to follow it and then couldn't get on. So I just want to say a few things. I think you guys are doing a good job, pretty much dissecting what went on yesterday. I just wanted to add what is so disconcerting about what Joseph Boycott, the former vice president, doing is just how disingenuous he is, how just purposefully misleading he is. Okay, you touched on it, Duke. You talked about how he said he didn't have a surgery, and then he had a surgery to have a pacemaker put in. How he's trying to hit back on his own team, putting down the diaspora and Liberians that came back to the government, just flippantly saying, oh, they came here because they had mortgages to pay. Real leaders don't speak in that way. He also dismissed the fact that he got dismissed by everyone he's ever worked for. Anyone he's ever worked for, he got dismissed by them, including Ellen. And the way Ellen did it was not supporting him. Okay, so Sawyer dismissed him, Dose dismissed him, Ellen dismissed him, and he says, oh, it's all for political reasons, without giving us any specifics. He also talked about when they asked him about how his relationship with other people, especially Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, he verbatim, word for word, quoted what Mr. Cummings said in his interview when Mr. Cummings was asked for his relationship with Benin Ayuri. So this man is just regurgitating things. He's not giving any specifics. And there are people out there like, oh, he's a great leader. Oh, the man. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's talking about raising the budget to $1 billion. He couldn't give you any specifics on how he's going to do this. I often ask this question. I've seen it placed on this man's lap. He has surrogates out there speaking for him. But he says he was a parked car. Okay, you're a parked car, correct? That means you had great ideas that the president rejected. Tell us 2 of those ideas that you offered to her and she rejected. He couldn't tell you that. So all he does is just play on our people's ignorance, and he thinks he's going to use that strategy to lead our country again. That time is over. That time is over. There are plenty more other things he said today that I don't even have time to go into. But just the fact that he doesn't, and he says the leader now, not his supporters. He's talking about how those people are, they're just over here meeting at McDonald's or whatever he said today. Statesmen don't talk like that. So all these people who are calling him a statesman don't know what a statesman is, or how statespeople speak. So Joseph Boycott, no matter his age, right? So we do give some reverence to people with age. That's what our culture does. But when you are dishonest, we don't do that, and we can't do that. We cannot pretend our way to the presidency this time. So we're going to be loud about this. We're going to stop off here. We're going to make all the noise we can. This time around, we're going to pick a person based on merit, on competence, not just say, oh, I was in government for a long time, I was like LPMC. Okay, so what did you put on the table? What did you bring to the table? How could the country have gone left if he wasn't there? What did you help secure? What is it about you serving government that Cummings, tell us one thing, just one thing, that Mr. Cummings would not know because he was not in government, about governance or about running a bureaucracy that you know because you're in government. In a failed government, might I add. Tell us that. So he threw his own people under the bus. He regurgitated things that was not his. Okay? He took credit for things that was not his. He shifted the blame. That's another hallmark of a loser. He shifted the blame every time he was cornered. It was never him. And T-Max never asked the man, is there anything you take responsibility for ever? Or we squander opportunities? Give me an example of those opportunities. And I wish someone would actually ask him specific questions and follow-up questions. Anyway, I just wanted to add that. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Pete. Dr. Francine,
Thank you so much.
I got some audio here of those excerpts. He dropped off already.
Oh, okay.
But this is of your area, Dr. Francine. Peter mentioned something about T-Max that just got back to me. You remember the win for the break, and then suddenly he came back and said, we'll not be taking calls anymore.
Correct.
There were a series of calls from Liberians who started calling into the show and started asking those tough questions. And I believe what happened is that there was some direction that came from people on the back end that the vice president, the former vice president, can no longer take questions from Liberians or answer people on the phone. But Doc, I wanted to
catalog and analyze the 12 years in
What is that? What's playing?
Was it from pain or was it serious loss?
A little snippet from the interview.
a little snippet, yeah, from the interview. I was trying to have the people. I think Dr. Francine tell them, but we can go ahead.
Yeah.
We can go ahead,
Yeah.
Dr. Francine. Stop.
So, I think that Peter made an excellent point about misleading, So a lot of people, when they want to hide behind, yes, he was a lovely, public official. He was very comfortable. He appears to be very comfortable to talk to. I like to say that. Mm-hmm. His demeanor is very calm. But all of these things that I've mentioned will not put bread and butter on the table for Liberians, okay? All right. And then whenever they went in to ask him, he upgraded now. He doesn't use the word squander no more. He said lost opportunities. That's where we are. We are now as if to say this is better, that lost opportunities is better than squander.
So we keep moving the goalpost, right?
Yes, exactly. Okay.
We keep moving the goalpost.
Yes.
And
we're modifying mediocrity.
Yes, exactly. Correct. No, so some people even argue, oh, it wasn't 42 years, it was 25 years. I'm supposed to do better. It's supposed to make us do better. Oh, it wasn't squandered, it was lost opportunity. I'm feeling better. It put money, it put food on the table of my cousins and my brothers who are in Liberia, my nieces and nephews who are in Liberia. No, it does not, okay? But my point, and Peter mentioned about misleading the public, okay? When he was asked, something a lot of his supporters tend to do, and we need to address that. They asked him, he said, what will you do? What did you do as vice president for 12 years? He said, my job was to preside over the Senate and to assist the president. And to me, I actually was a little bit offended, although it doesn't take a lot for me to get offended, And he said, and so what? I didn't resign. People were asking. So T-Max, I think, asked him, but you were there for 12 years. What did you do? He said, well, I provided my advice, but she didn't. That's another thing he said. But if I provide my advice and somebody don't take it, what am I supposed to do? This was the first time we heard him say he gave advice. Many times he would say he was never consulted, okay? Ellen never consulted him. This was the first time we heard him say that he was in cabinet meetings where he said only PowerPoint presentations were given, okay? But there were no implementations. So can you tell us, Mr. VP, just like how we ask you to tell us about the systems one of your website says that you were consulting at the World Bank. And, so now we can add that to your career. What did you do? You just say you was consulting at the World Bank.
You see, this is why I gather. This is me. I am not a psychologist. But I think one of the reasons why he appeals to some people is because he acts pitiful. That's one thing I see. Yeah. Now, I'm serious about it. That's one thing I see. But for me, when you're that age, okay, it's about substance now. It's not about the way you act pitiful or the way you make yourself to look. It's not the way you think people are beating on you. Those things don't help our country. those things will not move our country forward. Those things will not put bread and butter on the table of our people. So when Peter said he was, being disingenuous, I agree. Like, for instance, we talked about it from the beginning, the VPS. Now, the blind eye is on the primary, so the VPS now, you can just insinuate that he's making the VPS to be the binding process. That's deception again. That is deception. If you look at the framework, the VPS is not binding. You can have someone 70%, 80% with the VPS, and they still can lose the primary because the primary is the binding process. But then you know what today? He said, I hope, this is it. I hope that she go by the VPS, the delegates will go by the VPS because that's the VPS we're gonna. I like, oh Lord. And Brady, I got a little bit upset. I felt somehow that you will find, in leadership, right after that I came on live today, you will find someone with that level of dishonesty in leadership. That wasn't a good thing, wasn't a good sign. And Duke, you throw light on it if you could.
Yeah, Emmerich, before I say that, because we have electronic files here. We have people watching. People want to call in to contribute. And let me say this. If you want to make a call, we're here. I'm good. Dial 443-226-2319. 443-226-2319. Now, Emmerich, go ahead, Doc.
I want to take some time. I'm reading the comments as well, and I think it's important for us to educate some of our fellow Liberians. We are not here trying to insult or badmouth Vice President Boakai. We are all very well-trained people. We are very well-responsible family people. And the least that we'll want to do is to badmouth him. However, we have to, as Liberians, move from this place of pretending, okay? In order for our country to grow, we have to be able to do these kind of, to have these kind of difficult but brave conversations, okay? It hurts us that we like Vice President Boakai. Like I said, he's a nice old man, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. My father was 83 when he passed away, so I call him a nice old man as well. Okay, but this is about Liberia. We are speaking in the best interest of Liberia here. Okay, how do we move forward? And some of you guys, again, you may be okay with mediocrity, but some of us are not. So if you come on here and you're saying, we will never win and all of that stuff, we will continue to speak for Mr. Cummings, and because it is our duty, it is our obligation to Liberia to inform our people. At the end of the day, whatever happens, when whoever wins, we can sleep at nighttime and say we did our best. Okay, we knew better. Our parents sacrificed and came here to the United States and sacrificed and educated us. We knew better. We got exposure. We met other people to all help us, and we're gonna do better. We're not just gonna sit as if we're not saying things because we are connected because of tribe or because of family friend affiliation or because of money. We're not gonna do that. Okay, so I just wanted to tell some of us that are listening here.
That's a great point, Doc, and we need to definitely pay attention to this comment section because this is our teaching opportunity. Emmerich said something, and I will follow up. I wanted to make a point, but this is what Emmerich was talking about.
The consensus or the VPS telling us this is the person we believe in, this is the person that would take down Mr. Weir. And if you go to the...
All right, I think I will stop it there. I wanted the VPS part. Dr. Francine, if you can recall, and Emmerich would know it because we all went through that. There was a point in time last year that the ANC partisans came under heavy attack because they introduced the VPS. Those who are advocating for the same VPS today make mockery of the ANC on social media, right?
I remember.
They said that, we're just, in fact, they only included the VPS, right, as a non-binding option because they felt that they needed to meet us in the middle. You understand me? When we push for that. They refused. Today, these people who were in support of primaries and saying all of these things here today now are telling you that the VPS, it shows weakness. And it shows exactly why we continue to struggle in Liberia, because you don't move the goalpost in the middle of the game. That's what they're doing. That's what the VP and his people are doing. It's like the last look. It's the final kick of a dying horse, right? And that is, it's clear, called simple. You know that you're getting beaten. First and foremost, they underestimated Alexander Cummings. When I see people running here, oh, you're not win, trust me, that the pro-unity party people who don't have any option. But I will say this, and I will go further than Dr. Fersen and Emmerich. I supported the Unity Party in 2017. I went and used my time and resources for UPUSA on the propaganda thing. Go back to all of those videos. I was the lead person. The George Lowe that are talking today did not even know how to come up with talking points. I coached him. Go back to the show and watch it. I'm not saying they say go back, right? Emmerich and myself taught him. The hours will put him on the phone and try to guide him in saying what he needs to say. When I see these people coming and acting as if they're so knowledgeable, right? It's insulting, and that's why we're upfront and we have to continue to talk. Because listen, when people who understand, when people who have the passion, when people who need to be speaking up stop talking, we give too much opportunities to the wrong people, right? So, the VP is not telling the truth again. How can somebody that you say is honest sit in front of the Liberian people and openly become dishonest? First, you lie on the interview about your health situation, which is important because you're a public figure. You're running for an office that requires a lot of work. And by the way, something, Dr. Francine, that I mentioned that I want to bring up tonight. He said that after the 2017 process, there was stress, tired, and he had to go see the doctor. I want to say this. I am in no way trying to politicize anybody's health issue. That's not what I'm doing. But again, this is what we need to do because we're talking about the future of Liberia. If you are getting tired in a VP capacity where you have not even earned the spot to serve as a leader, imagine the increase in workload that the presidency brings to you. Yeah. So how do you have the strength to even go through the torment, the ups and downs? And mind you, whoever takes over from George Weah after Weah's first term is going to inherit a lot of challenges. That's what I need people to focus on. You see, George Weah, people thought it was all about the pre-election celebration, voting, wearing t-shirts, celebrating and winning. After election comes consequences, actions, results, right? That's why today the people who voted for George Weah are complaining, because after the enjoyment part, now it's the reality. People can come and put the big show and talk about how you're the best person. After 42 years, we didn't see nothing. But how can you galvanize resources to help our people, right? These are the important issues that we're talking. I think somebody's calling and want to contribute. Let me make this final point. Hang on one second. I'll bring you on. But Emmerich said it the best. The VPS is a non-binding option, right? So we have to reach general consensus, and then those things just allow us to have an informed decision in terms of where we need to go. But the primary is important because at the end of the day, it determines who needs to collaborate. Right, exactly, right? So we are not going to start planting something here that we shouldn't be planting, and we need to be truthful. If we're honest people, then let's stay according to the documents that we signed, the agreements that we made. Hello, is this Akim?
Hello, this is Cornelius.
Oh, Cornelius, how are you?
I'm good. I've been following the conversation, and then honestly, by the time the DP was on this morning on 50/50, that was exactly my bedtime. But I honestly took time to listen to him, because after his so-called chit-chat he had with Costa, I just knew he's not up to the task. But I said, okay, let me just listen to him. Let me tell you something, Duke, where they're coming from. In 2017 elections, after the elections, these people made it so hard for us to even campaign. from the get-go, I campaigned for Mr. Cummings in the first round. We did our utmost best. The only thing that people were saying at that time was they didn't know Mr. Cummings. He's a new kid on the block. We won't even trust if he got his wealth through the right channel and all that. Okay, so then after the first round, he said, if you want to go and vote for anybody else, it's your right to do so. I'm not telling you who to vote for. I voted for Mr. Joseph Neiman Boyka. And it was this same loud talker. I don't like to go back door and all that. Henry Costa. That made it even harder for us. On this, Mr. Joseph Boyka today, that is his darling grandpa or his darling hero that he loves the most. He made it so difficult for us. Talking about how this old man had a taser in his shoes that will wake him up if he's sleeping. How he had taser in his heart, pacemaker in his heart that will wake him up. Now today, just to find out that the Taylor Ure, the Benana Ure, that their camp is so in love with Joseph Boyka. So all these things just disappear. Are you trying to say that all of them just evaporated, just left out in thin air? No, it didn't. These people just want a business as usual, somebody they can just control, or somebody when the person is in that higher office, they can use. Okay, listen to this man today. I listened to Mr. Cummings on the Spoon Talk. He kept on insisting that only the CPP can remove our president now, George Weah. Only the CPP. This man said today more than once that only him. Can you imagine? So only you couldn't win the election 2017. Now what difference has happened? Can you imagine this? We are in a collaboration. Duke, I've said this thing more than once. I don't know in our meetings if you listen. Yep. I said it was better for Mr. Cummings to just stay away from these people because it's just the disrespect was too much from the get-go. Even for the DPS, the disrespect was on the highest. So I was like, okay, let's leave this people. Let's look at them. If it comes to second round, we can join with anybody else. But then you saying in a marriage, right? You say that only you didn't even say your wife, you say only you can make this thing work. It's not possible. We need more than one people to make it work. We need everybody to bring on their resources and their strength. You don't have nothing to live alone. How only you can make it work? Honestly, Dr. Vincent, let me get it clear. I have all the book knowledge. I've been in America 2 years now, and then I'm working in corporate America now. I know how difficult it is. You have to go through how many interviews to start working in corporate America. Yes. So only you telling people about mortgage in America. Okay, we pay mortgage here, fine. In Latvia, only you can make it work. It's not possible. You never said anything today. Honestly, I'm telling you, he didn't say anything aside what Costa them told him to be saying his mind that only him can beat George Weah. It's not possible.
Brother, you said it best. I'm glad to always have people who are on the grind in 2017 and engaged to the process. Continue to give us feedback. We appreciate that. And Dr. Francine will speak to what you said. Thank you, okay?
Yes,
thank you, my brother. All right.
Thank you so much for calling. Thank you. Emmerich, did you want to add on? For those of you who are joining us, we're just having a conversation about what took place today. We are actually, if you join us late, it's unfortunate because we are giving you a comparative analysis between Mr. Cummings' platform for Liberia, what he intends to do, versus what you heard today from the former Vice President, Joseph Boyka. It is not, we are not here trying to insult, trash, like some of you that are coming on here. Are we still on, guys? Yeah.
Yeah, we are. We are. Actually, Dr. Francine, another teaching moment, right? And I'm glad these comments are coming up because it allows us to respond to them in real time. Somebody here, I read his comment, say that you can vote for Cummings, and that's your right. You know very well that Cummings doesn't have the number to win election, my friend. So let me say this. In 2017, I supported Joseph Boyka and the Unity Party. And I want to bring you behind the scenes stuff here quickly, Dr. Francine. Some of you guys can come in too as well. I was at a firm.
Are you here? He looks like he's just frozen enough.
Yeah.
No, I'm here.
So okay. Everybody in the Unity Party war room, every serious young person that was actually controlling the process, right, called me and said, listen, we got outworked, outspent everything and stuff. This thing was just all talk. We're losing this election. Even the war room before they started counting, we knew that stuff. We just had to count and just say stuff to keep it up. But we already knew. Here's my point. If you saw half the numbers, right? You got whipped. 2017. Like, mind you, this is a 42-year public servant. This guy's been in politics for a long time, so he has had more than 42 plus years to build his political career. And you got whipped. He only looked for county, felt sorry for you, and went with you. And I'm telling you this, take it from me. It's a different political dynamics in Lothian County as we speak. I know that. I talk to people every day. It's not the same. I'm telling you. And people in the ANC will even tell you, outside the ANC will tell you, they have understood going forward that certain things can no longer happen again because they were let down. So when you come on our post and talk about the numbers, what numbers are you speaking of? You got whipped by the CDC. Us, all of us together, like Barry said, we'll support this old man in the second round. People did that. And you still got spanked. You know why? Because Liberians were fed up. They just did not want to have anything to do with you. And to make matter worse, people who knew better stayed away from the voting process. It is not going to be. And Mr. Cummings is not the new guy. And let me tell you something, finally, Dr. Francis, you come in. All of you that talk about numbers here, today, the same number argument you're making, that's why you're running away from the primary, because you know what? Alexander Cummings grew up. He is beating you to the punch in the game that you thought that you're the only ones that mastered. And now the people who introduced the VPS, you have now become the spokesparty or the spokesperson for pushing the VPS on us and ignoring the primary that you once supported. It speaks about not only the leadership of Cummings, that this is a different arena, and people who are underestimating and talking about numbers, they're in for a rude awakening. But Dr. President Emery, you can come in.
Yeah. Let's talk about the number. Let's talk about the number after 2017. Let's go into the numbers right now. Okay, what happened in Cape Mount during the by-elections over there with Odaba Vapala from UP? What happened to her performance? Let us go to Cornelius Crowd Topa. Okay, what district was it? 13?
Yeah, I believe, yeah.
Colabor district, yeah.
So what happened? Okay, so what happened again to the numbers? Let us go to the numbers, okay, and see after 2017, all of the by-elections, where even Boaka went and raised people's hands and so, what happened to them?
And to add to that, Emmerich, that's a great question. Yes, yeah, great question. So, sometimes I feel so kind of sad for some of our Liberians who would just kind of throw out, numbers, what happened, we got the numbers. I'm not a mathematician, but I actually am in the social science where I produce, I have my students talk about statistics and we produce statistical articles many times. So when you talk about numbers, you talk about extraneous variables, okay? Numbers are not static, okay? So the variables that were existing in 2017, the facts and the people, like I think Duke, you open up and say, that 60% of our population now are young Liberians, right? Okay, so those in the population who were not even qualified to vote are not qualified to vote, okay? Our economic situations, these extraneous variables have changed. It's different, okay? We don't have the darling of the West, and the geopolitics of the world is not the same. So you have to look at all of those variables. And before you start speaking about, the correlation, because we're not even talking about predictability here, we're talking about, associations, correlations, okay? Before we start thinking about these things. So when I hear you guys talk about numbers, I feel kind of so bad. I wish you guys knew more about these numbers that you just kind of throw around. And another thing I'd like to add on, great, what happened to the numbers? And let's stick to those questions that Emmerich asked. The person kept on talking about, oh, you got to know the country, you just can't come in the country, and I was puzzled. I'm like, oh, this man in 2017 won one county. So does that one county, Norfolk County, makes up the rest of the country? What happened to the rest of the other counties? Did he who knew the country so well? What happened to the numbers in those counties, and what happened to the rest of those counties? So those are the things that I want us to critically analyze. Okay, so now we bring in Mr. Cummings. If you're just joining us, we've been talking about what he's going to do for Liberia. We've talked about how he came from, a man born in Liberia, actually very close, if I'm not mistaken, in Newcastle, okay, to a father who was a pastor, and a mother, I believe, was a businesswoman, partially, and I think teacher, and moved on, worked in Liberia, went to school in Liberia. He's like us. He says all the time, Ghanaians are no better than Liberians. Rwandans are no better than Liberians. Nigerians are no better than Liberians. And why can't we get our act together? Because we have people like some of these people talk about numbers and don't even perhaps thinking, I feel bad about what they're talking about. So yes,
and that's a brilliant point. Peter had to call back in because the number that he tuned to, he wants to say something real quick. So, Pete, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm reading the comments and listening to people actually speak factually about our country and the future of our children. And there are people over here playing games talking about numbers. If you had a number, the numbers, you wouldn't have been a correlation. If you want to go back to 2017 numbers, that means you're going to lose again to George Weah. So why are you even running if you already know you're going to lose, right? And the other numbers I want to talk about is money. Where are you getting the money? You have to take out loans right now. They had a fundraiser on the beach. What happened to those pictures of the tsunami of people who were supposed to see? I think it was only Joseph Boycott, one young girl, and Mo Ali on the beach. Okay, no one showed up. So what's this numbers you're talking about? And here's the difference. And I want to specifically address this guy called John Hanna. I want to address him because he keeps typing nonsense. And there's a bunch of typing nonsense things that have no idea about. Here's the difference between you guys and us, right? We care. We are professionals who don't need a job in Liberia. One big difference. We care about people because we have empathy. And we're not going to let you guys trick them again. Okay, so you need to learn that. Number two, we can actually articulate our points. We can tell you Mr. Cummings' economic worldview. Can you do the same for Joseph Boycott? We can explain to you exactly how Mr. Cummings plans on moving the budget to $1 billion in specific terms. Can you do the same? We can tell you, and we can go back and show you specific areas and times and places and sound bites of Mr. Cummings talking about how the rule of law is important. Joseph Boycott has been in government for 42 years. Give me one instant where he advocated for anything that dealt with something that went against his government or the people in power for the regular Liberian people. Here's the difference. We are going to be on the ground. I'm from Gardner's Hill. I'm going to be there because my accent changed a little bit. My people know me. They know my integrity. They know the work I've done. So does all the faces you see on the screen right now. Our people know us. They trust us. They know we're not liars. They know we don't need jobs. We're going to be in Monrovia. You guys have a fight on your hand you have never, ever, ever dreamt about. We are going to liberate our people. We're going to tell the truth. You're not going to lie to them. That's the fight. That's what this fight is about. It's for you lying. No different than George Weah. Okay? Everything Boycott says that he stumbles on, you guys come and fix it. Oh, yeah, the man borrowed loan because people in America. The man don't live in America. We don't have a credit system in Liberia. He's borrowing money because he planned his life poorly. Period. Our children's future. We just happened, like Dr. Francine said earlier, we got lucky. We could have been stuck in red light. We could be stuck in Liberia right now. We're not going to let that happen to our people. We don't need the jobs. The job that I do and most of us do, the job I do is maybe in Liberia. I don't need a job. But guess what? I'm going to be stomping on Joseph Boycott's neck in December. I promise you that. And my people, the ones from Garnersville, the ones from Hot Bell, the ones from Buchanan, they know me, they know my family, they know I'm not a liar, and they're going to listen. You guys got that? Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Now listen, Peter's fiery. Right. This is what we need to do. I'm telling you, because, look, Emma, 1 second, please. I'll send you just a few minutes here. some of these people who come in the comments do not even pay due to Unity Party, the liabilities to the party. $5 you ask them, they won't get it. The Unity Party is even strong. Look, let me tell you a confidential information that just came to me. There's a security guard at the Unity Party that has been doing work for them. They've not paid him for almost 2 years. Today, he went and threatened to go to the press, okay? And what he received was an autographed book from the vice president. The man won his money. So this party does not know, you know, you do not even have the money to even take care of your structure. So how do you intend to run a campaign? But I will say this finally before Emery comes in. You can come on social media and say all you want to say about numbers. Take this from me. In Lopar County, your gateway in Lopar County is not going to support you anymore. Newsflash. Secondly, I work across with some of your people in your districts, and I can tell you, your district structures are not even strong because guess what? Some of your people are tired with the things that you guys are doing. So you can sit on social media, just how you tell us that we're talking, but we are on the ground. We're deep into your communities, into the counties, working with the county structures, and we know what the people are communicating to us. Unlike you would need to call your bosses to get information to hand down. So we're not playing these games. But December, we will be in the trenches. We'll be in West Point. We'll be in Nukutan. We'll be in Grand Jita. We'll be in Nimba County, Bon County, Bombay County. We'll be in all of those places. And that's where the fight will happen, in those trenches, to educate our people. And that's what we're going to do, Dr. Francine.
Yes. And so, Emmerich, tell us, we are making our case to the people. So it's unfortunate that some of you, you know, you don't get it. You're not getting it. So we're making our case. That's our task right now. So, Emmerich, lead us on, and if we can just close up by
the numbers, right?
I have to go to work tomorrow.
Right, Dr. Francine, I want to talk about numbers, right? Let's go back to what they said about President George Manawia, right? With respect to numbers, how he was the only one in the diaspora who was going back and care about his people, how he came from the Sloop community, and so let us look at all of those things, right? All of those factors that people said about him. Look at that right now and see where our people at this point in time, right? The numbers he had then, that he was popular. What popularity, what's the correlation, popularity and progress or success?
Very good point.
What is the correlation? All right, what is the correlation?
That popularity will eat. That what I asked, that popularity will eat.
Exactly. So this is the thing. This is the Liberian way that we have to change. And good thing we are here educating our people. Not everybody is going to educate. Not everybody going to be convinced.
No, we only need 50 plus 1.
Exactly. So when we keep saying this person is popular, how is that person transforming the lives of the common people, the people that are suffering, the people that are destitute? How is that happening? We see a clear example. Do we want to repeat what's happening right now and base it on just numbers, or we want to see relevance? We want to see somebody who has the competence, somebody who is honest, who is transparent, who is accountable? Because in leadership, you need those virtues to be able to have good leadership. You cannot have a good leadership if you don't have someone who is honest. That's one thing. So we have to now find a different way to pick our leaders. Our leaders cannot be picked because we think that person is popular. Yeah, we agree in election, but if you look at the framework of the CPP, the essence of the CPP to collaborate the strength of the individual political parties. So that alone is dead on arrival to say that one person is popular. Then there's no essence, there's no need for you to be in the collaboration if you're that popular. All right, but then when you look at what happened in 2017, you're that popular, right? But then one county. The reason why when you see me making those posts and so about you tribalizing our electoral system and so, you have to be very, very careful. And I'm only saying it to people out there. When you start to do it, other group of people, other tribes and other counties are seeing predominantly certain group of people galvanizing and being together, what they do, they sit and they say, nobody guys here. Even though some of you, your intention, you got good intentions, Okay, but when they see that it is based on tribalism, nepotism, then they get scared. Then they tend to gang up against you. And I'm saying that we don't want to degenerate to that. We don't want to go to that. So all I'm asking you all who are watching this, don't see this something as we are being hard on the former VP. That's not the case. We did not come here to disparage him. We did not come here, but we are Liberians. We did not come here to speak on behalf of our political party or so. No, we don't have the authority to speak on behalf of our political party. We are Liberians. We mean well for our country. We need to look into these issues separately and be able to be able to dissect and be able to critically think the way, the best way forward. And I think if we can do it, we are asking you all to do the same thing. When Mr. Cummings is speaking, look at the reality of what he says, take his speech and go into it and critique it. Correct. It is welcoming. It is democratic. These are things that we'll have to do. That's the best way, because when you have competition and when people are thinking critically and analytically, all you do, you have the best. You be able to see through things that the common ordinary eyes won't just be able to see. So we are asking you, do not see this in bad faith. Okay, this is good. This is good for our democratic process. So the number issue, that'll dispel that'll erase the whole thing, because it's not factual. Because what happened after 2017, all the by-elections that we've had, UP been, bad. The record been really, really bad. They have not won anything other than Brownie Summercar with the help of the CPP and everyone in Lofa. That's the only win since then.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much, Emerick. And we are doing our closing right now. I was begin to say that because it's late. We'll come back to you. Yes. We have so much to discuss. But thank you so much, Emerick, for saying that we need to move from just being unmotivated, lack of innovation, okay, lack of critical thinking, and to go to a place of thinking outside of the box so we can ask questions. And this is what we are here for tonight. We can share information. Numbers are not stagnant. They change, because human behavior, we change. And so when you study human behavior, you have to be able to put that into the equation. And so, so I just want, like somebody said on one of these talk shows, I was at probably Spoon TV, that it's not like the numbers are kept in the what they call it, in a safe. In a vault? In a safe at LBTI Bank, So numbers are not kept in the safe at LBTI Bank waiting for 2023 for us to put it out there, no. Okay? So
with interest, the numbers survived inflation and everything too.
Correct. So as because it's in the safe. So I want us to critically think about that. Okay. Again, we start off this conversation by saying, we want to be able to give you guys information. We want to be able to say to you at the end of the day, we did our due diligence. We brought you all of the information about Mr. Cummings, where he came from, his vision for Liberia, which includes creating a better, a deserving Liberia, working on our healthcare, increasing our budget, to $1 billion. Okay. We talked about changing the hearts and minds of people, and he gives us the framework. And I want to say that we can no longer hide behind these laws, constitutionally, I couldn't do anything. Guys, we are in 2021. Imagine going to a job where you are being paid and you go day in and day out and you are receiving payment, a check every week, and you're there and saying, well, the Constitution said, or the policy, the Human Resource Department say, this is all that I need to do. I just need to show up at work and do this. It doesn't work that way. No amount of degree or title that you have will say this is what you need to do at work, but something that you have will be common sense and integrity. Okay, that would tell you that if I'm here, I need to at least contribute to what my responsibilities are. So when I hear people say, oh, the Constitution said I'm only supposed to be this, Mr. Cummings If he was to behave that way, or if I, Dr. Richardson, was going to behave this way, I'd be fired. One morning, you know, I will not be able. You would. I will not be. It's not like, okay. I will use myself an example. Okay. Every semester, my class, again, numbers do change. My class change. I get new students. I get some people at different levels. I can't go and say, oh, because in semester in last summer semester, because I'm teaching summer now, I had this student, this amount of students. So in summer of 21, I would get the same kind of students. No, I have to think outside of the box, as Emmerich said. I have to think critically and say, okay, what kind of learners do I have? What kind of questions can I ask my students in this class? How can I contribute to the classroom lecture, to the world that I live in, okay? And so when I see a leader like that, when I see a leader like Mr. Cummings, who has been contributing from the day that he started working, you know, in this systemic country, where it's very hard to see people like us even moving up the ladder, you gotta think, there got to be something about this person, this man, okay? It is not about whether I like him or not. Like him or not, do not provide food on the table for my cousins, my nephews, my brothers that are in Liberia. Some people, you know, I saw somebody say, well, this woman, does she, you know, yes, I go to Liberia frequently. For your information, I'll be going there soon. So I know the terrain very, very well. I'm a mixture, I'm a mixed breed Liberian. So if you don't know that. So on that note, I will just tell you guys, we'll be coming to you regularly to tell you about Mr. Cummings and what he's doing. And, you know, like the day he was making his case to the Liberians, we'll be making our case to you, Liberians. And as Maya Angelou said, you do better when you know better. Thank you. And Duke, you take it off.
Doctor, Dr. Francine, listen, I can't say how much, you know, I adore you. I say this all the time. So brilliant, you know, so strategic, so poised, you know your stuff. And it's an honor to be in your midst, you know, and these are the kind of things that we need, you know, for Liberia, right? Just having your presence around. And Emmerich, you know how I feel about you already. But so I think this was a good discussion. And at no point in time we insulted anybody. What we did here is we focused on the issues and we started to ask and discuss those things that are considered, right, that monkey in the room. And if we have to change Liberia, we need to have those difficult conversations. By the way, you know, I see people here, oh, you don't know the, look, I am related to this man, right? This is family, okay? I supported Joseph Boyka in 2017. There was a meeting Emmerich and myself was on. That meeting was shut down because Emmerich and myself went back and forth. He was defending the ANC. I was talking on behalf of the UP. I'm telling you, that meeting disrupted everybody's flow. But through that conversation, we had to learn about each other in a different way. And I had to go through my own growth to understand. And you know what? I will say this. In 2017, Mr. Cummings was the better candidate than any other person that was in the race. I said that, okay? And again, because of the same things that we say, oh, you know, this, that, the rest of it, let's give somebody else a chance. This time around, it's not going to happen. And listen, we're not going to pay attention to people who are stuck in a box. The Unity Party is a fraction party now. There's two groups, right? They're not united. And even the fraction that had that strong support with the VP before, they're not there. There are few of them who only have an agenda, and that agenda is to remain corrupt. They know that this man has this kind of, he has this relaxed attitude, and they want to exploit it. And we will not allow that to happen. But focusing on the issue and closing, using my final point, Mr. Cummings continues to make all of us proud. He has grown in his own personal life when it comes to understanding Liberian politics. And Dr. Francis, I know so many things that he has actually changed about himself to be able to better understand our people. People had concern that he was not beating our people. Where do you see him? You see him in all the communities, walking on the bridges that people don't even know existed. They say, oh, the men need to open up more. He opened up to everybody. And you know what he does, though? He takes decisions, right, that aren't popular, but he stands his ground. Issue a war crimes court. Even during the time, Emory hinted that a lot of ANC partisans did not see any reason why we should remain in the CPP. This man stood tall and told him, you know what, we're going to do it this way. This is what you want to see from a leader, not somebody that can be boxed in the room and listen to people who don't even have any knowledge of what they're talking about to give him suggestions. Not somebody who's responsible for 42 years of destruction in our country coming out here and trying to pretend. We need a leader who can restore dignity in Liberia, somebody who knows how to work hard and bring those things that are needed to build our economy, an economic guru who understands the practicality, the essence of practicality and restructuring the Liberian economy based upon the private or strong private sector. That's what Mr. Cummings brings. And Dr. Francine and Emmerich, I can't wait till we have another episode of this to go a little deeper into it. I just want to say thank you to everybody, all of those who came here, had different views. We appreciate everybody, but this is how we get better and discuss our country when we're talking about these things and we're addressing as well. ANC, y'all please come and join us. Go to Emirates, go to Dr. Francine. We're recruiting people. This is about saving Liberia, moving our country forward. We will win the nomination. I'm telling you, Alexander Cummings is going to win the nomination of the CPP. They know it, they see it, and they understand that it's coming. Don't lose hope, ANC partisans. Let's work. Liberians, we're here to fight for you, and we're getting ready to rock and roll.
Yes, Emmerich, any final words that you have?
Why you were talking. I started to think, and I think our next topic can be how corporate skills can be transferred, and then we'll give some examples. So I think we can do our research and give some examples of great leaders that came from the corporate background, and we see success in the public space. So
absolutely. We'll do that. We'll do that. And that's actually is inconsistent with a second part of the interview that was aired. He talked about the economy, the whole idea of agriculture, road, what he said, agriculture, roads, what was the T's, tourism and sanitation. Those were the things that he talked about. And so we can talk about the economy in the experience of transferable skills, how Mr. Cummings has those abilities. And when he said that, I know we gotta go, but I know Mr. Cummings in the last interview on Spoon TV, he said ecotourism, and he even expanded on that. Just to kind of drop this bomb on us and say tourism, how, where, who, when. That's what we want to know. And on that
note, rubber boots or cutlasses for agriculture, that's not the way to go, people. I'm sorry.
No. So great idea, Emmerich. We will definitely do our homework and be here to inform all of you guys. That's why we're here. Thank you so much for joining us. Whether you like ANC, whether you don't like ANC, get to know us, meet us. Let's have an intellectual conversation. Let's talk from the heart, heart and heart-to-heart conversation. If you like what you hear, you have some questions, contact us, and we'll see you soon again. Thank you so much for joining us.
Ember will be having Joseph Boyga retirement party in Maryland.
You see how he is?
Bye, dog. Talk to you later. Oh, man. All right, people, that's how we end the show tonight.